The spirit of performance is what defines Acura. And now, it's electric. Introducing the ZDX, Acura's most powerful SUV yet. Crafted using the same formula that brought them electrified supercars and multiple IMSA championships, the ZDX has track-tested performance that packs an energy all its own. Unlock the energy and order yours at Acura.com.
This is it. We've got an Amex Platinum Pro on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't seen anyone relax like this before in the Centurion Lounge. Is he connecting to complimentary Wi-Fi? Oh, my! Look at that! He is! And you will not believe where he's going next. The Amex dedicated card member entrance for the win! Unbelievable!
When you get travel perks with Amex Platinum, you're part of the action. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.
This is Full Change with Tom Laidlaw.
I make more ketchup and mustard now. But
I've tried your hummus. It's a little spicy. I like it.
Yeah.
It's not bad. But that's not why we're here, though, Tom. That's not why we're here today.
I'm not here to talk about my cooking?
No, well, we will. We'll definitely talk about that as we go along. But we're here because this is our 100th episode.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is amazing. Can you think back to we had a conversation at now defunct Fritz Dietl about doing a podcast.
But it's one of those things, you know how stubborn I am. So I'm doing my old podcast and live and everything. It's all perfect and a whole bit. And then I realized, okay, we can get better lighting, you get better microphones, headsets, all that kind of stuff. So we've taken it, Mr. Smith has taken it to a whole different level. And man, it's been an amazing ride too. I did not know we would go where we've gone with these shows, like the emotional stuff.
We've heard 100 stories from 100 different hockey players. Well, not all hockey players, some announcers, some GMs, some
owners.
Some owners. Yeah, we had an owner on, so it's been pretty incredible. We've had some guys who are hockey adjacent. I think of Malik Garvin from Hockey in Harlem, and we had Rob Burnett from the Letterman Show. Ricky McGuire.
You got the Subway guy, too.
Subway Creatures, Rick McGuire. Yeah, hockey player, but also not in the NHL. But yeah, we've heard some great stories, but mostly, about 90 NHL players, ex-NHL players telling their story.
Isn't it funny, too, how some guys struggling with suicide and all this kind of stuff, and then you got other guys like Darren Langdon, well, I just went home and...
I don't think funny is the word there to say guys are struggling with suicide.
No. I'm sorry, but you're correct. I apologize to everybody.
Yes. No, but it's funny how some guys have no lingering effects at all, no issues. Darren Langdon, like you said, just went back to Newfoundland and opened up a bar and was like, no, I'm cool.
I remember we had to do that interview, and I'm thinking, okay, what are we going to talk about next? He's got no problems, right?
None
problems. Yeah.
Like, I played, I'm done, all good.
Yeah. How about our divorce rate too? What are we paying?
Divorce rate is high. It's got to be 75 to 80%. Yeah, you're all divorced because you're all selfish narcissists who are,
Well, not all now. Not all now. Certainly when we played, there's no question about that.
As players, for sure.
Yeah. Some of the guys are very thoughtful. Right? Like Riley Cotes, who just did the show with Ryan Vandenbush.
Oh, incredibly.
I love those stories where guys break away from the whole hockey world and do other unique things.
And a lot of this, too, is it's great for me from the fan perspective, but also it's great to see you reconnect with some of your old friends and teammates who you might not have in the past. And I want to bring up one who I've now consider I'm friendly with is Dave Silk. He's great guy. He was with the Rangers with you. You have the famous Sportorama story that we can't talk about. But
I'm going to Sportorama today, by the way.
Are you really?
Yeah. Yes. Got to learn to play.
Wait, is it Wednesday? No. We're there tomorrow. Okay. Oh, that's very cool. But so Dave Silk was wonderful. He was great that we had him on, and he's like, I sent you guys lobsters as a thank you. I was like, oh, that was so that's so unnecessary, Dave.
Yeah.
And so
Plus it costs some money too.
So wait a minute. Oh, that look fits. Oh. So I again, a kid who was a guy coach with Andy Lane. His son Connor is a big fan of the 80 Olympic team. So Dave signed a puck for him and for my son too. And I said, Dave, that was really cool. And thanks. I never got the lobster, but I think Tom because the lobster goes. I sent about 75 of them.
There's 75, but there's quite a few.
And I said, well, Laidlaw ate them all. He goes, classic Laidlaw.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
I see there was a legitimate reason why I couldn't get him, Terry. Wasn't there
well, I'm a vegetarian. I wasn't going to eat lobster.
Oh, that's right.
It was the thought that counted. But yeah, he's like, no, Tom just ate them all.
Yeah,
I was like,
what's pretty funny too is your reaction to my reaction. Like when get a guy like Dave Sook on, we start telling stories, we're crying, laughing. It's just amazing. Like there's things we did.
oh, you guys like you're oiling yourself up and sliding down the hallway. I'm like, these guys were. And me as a little kid at 10 years old, I'm like, I'm waiting for autographs from you guys, at the Garden at Rye. And then like these knuckleheads are going home and sliding down the hallway covered in grease.
See, that's the kind of story that when we tell it, you think to yourself, I can't believe we really were doing that.
Yes, like these guys are mental cases.
Oh, God. No. We learned a lesson too, that when a guy like Dave Sook's coming on, I can't call in advance because we start telling the story before the show and it kind of takes away from it a little bit, but that was still.
Yeah, that's with anybody. Even and it was great to hear you catch up with the first show we did was Pierre LaRouche. Yeah. And he was awesome, and he was, you could see the genuine, you guys have a love for each other. Even 40, 30 years later. And then
I saw him in Pittsburgh at a playoff game a couple years ago, and it was incredible. Like here's two grown men, and we were hugging each other, and like we hadn't seen each other in so long. It's pretty cool. The ones I like too with the guys I don't know.
Yes,
remember Andy Sutton kind of gave me a hard time because he's a very intelligent man, and. Our pattern now is Tom Smith, our producer, wonderful friend here. He'll do a little homework at first, but I would like to not do any homework, so I don't know anything about the guy. And then we're on the show, so I started asking questions. He says, "Did you guys prepare at all?"
Well, I had to stop and say, "Hold on a second. I did. Tom likes to come in cold."
Yeah,
and that's right. He was also very much in CEO mode. Like I have 45-minute window, and then I have a hard out, blah blah blah. So I was like, okay, you do it. I respect what he's doing, but.
He's an intelligent man, right? The way he speaks and everything.
Oh yeah, he definitely turned his career around and made a full change into this CEO role that he's in, and that's awesome.
Okay, a few categories here. What would be the funniest show we've done?
Oh God, that's a great question.
The Richie Pilon.
Pilon's always funny. Oh, Grant Marshall and ripping on Randy Belichick. Randy Belichick's a friend of mine, and I'm quite fond of him. But man, he had some struggles when it comes to technology.
Yeah,
and Grant Marshall was relentless on him. So
Beth, you know what? Marshall's a funny man. We got to get him back on.
He is very funny. He's very funny. Yeah, we had some excellent guests. We've had some great stories. You've actually teared up a few times. Ooh, remember you did with Brian Berard when he was talking about his mom passing. And there was one recently that got to you. And I'm trying to think of who. It wasn't Kevin Kline, but it was someone recently where you were tearing up.
And what was that? Was it Sheldon Surrey? No.
It might have been. That was another great story. Wow. And it's so many because I keep forgetting some of the. I remember some of the early ones really stood out because we just got started.
Was it Mike Allison? I got a little teary-eyed when you started talking about Herb Brooks.
No, I think you were just a little bit kind of dumbfounded.
Yeah.
Like, right. How'd I miss that? I didn't.
Yeah. So people that haven't seen that, it was a fantastic show. Mike was great. Him and I started in the NHL together. We played in L.A. together, Rangers first in L.A., and we're good friends and very close. And I've always praised Herb Brooks, what he did for me and everything, but he was hard on a lot of guys. And when Mike announced on the show that, and he was very open about it too, that he'd contemplated suicide because of Herb Brooks. Yeah. That was when he said the words came out of his mouth, I felt so many things. I felt like guilty, like I wasn't there for him. I didn't know about it.
A lot of your old teammates derisively say you were like one of Herb's boys.
Oh, yeah.
And they kind of say like, yeah, you were one of Herb's boys and you missed all this stuff going because Brooks liked you. You're his kind of player. But some of these guys had a really hard time with Herb Brooks. I mean, Mike Rogers, who told some, that was a great episode too.
Yes. Yeah.
Brooks did not like Mike Rogers.
That's funny. And it's weird because he started off, Dave Maloney was the same way. Herbie started off liking him. Then eventually there's a lot of guys he didn't like. And I look back and made me kind of force, because again, my career was fantastic with Herb. He gave me a role that put me in that role all the time, defenseman. But I think back to some of the things he did, like when he shot the puck in my head in practice, or he'd come down to the end of the bench and he'd kick me in the ass, and he said, "Get the F out there."
Yeah.
And I guess I just was like, "Oh, okay, I'm getting played, so I'll just keep going."
Well, it goes back to like what Mark Howe said. He said he grew up with the idea in his head that coaches are never wrong. Whatever the coach says goes, and he took that even when he dealt with Keenan, who was a maniac. Yeah. He was like, "The coach is right." So that's a different.
We had Ken Hitchcock on. I forgot about that. I like that show, Nick, as I've been very critical of him openly, and it gave me an opportunity to say it to his face, not behind his back, to say it face to face. And he knew it was coming. He knows that a lot of people didn't like the way he coached. So.
Hall of Fame coach, but your Brian Berard did not like Hitchcock and was openly adamant about that. He thought he was terrible. But people are not going to like coaches, and it's human nature, Yeah,
that is. Yeah, if you're going to make a difference. And whatever you're doing, some people just aren't going to like you. That's what
Speaking of coaches, we had Jason Payne on, who's coaching the Rangers affiliate in Cincinnati, And he was a tough guy. And it's funny, my friend Matt McNulty, who works for the Devils now, was an AHL ref. So he's like, you didn't want to mess with Jason Payne. He's like, he said there was one scrum when Payne came in, he goes, who's going with me? Who's going with me, boys? And everyone was like, nope. And they all faded away. The thing ended. And Matt was like, yeah, people didn't want to mess with Painter. But he did something historic. He had the first all-black hockey lineup for the Cyclones this year. He had all 6 players, which is pretty cool. And I sent him a text afterwards, and he was, very grateful. He's just like really cool dude.
Isn't like the guys like to, especially all the guys, but especially the older guys, really like to tell their story. Like it's kind of nostalgic to them to sit back and kind of reflect on your career and things you did.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we're here for. That's what podcasts are. Guys are sharing their stories, and I love hearing them. And I think our fans do too.
Remember Morris Lukowitz? Great guy. But once he started telling the story, there's no stopping him, right? He's worse than I am.
He's as stubborn as you are. That one was Luke. He was good, but he did want to tell his story about the farm, and we let him.
Remember, I tried to go on from one story. He says, "No, Tommy, let me finish this story."
Which you have to respect because you do the exact same thing. You're like, sometimes like, hold on, and then you just keep going. So,
who was it we just had on to Ryan Van Bush, where we were talking about telling stories, and we laughed because everybody, I think they were the same way. We just keep going. There's somebody out there that hasn't heard the story yet, so we're going to tell it.
Well, Ryan Van Bush, we will have on next episode. Well, just so you know, we tape Van Bush before this one. We don't always tape chronologically, but this is our 100th episode, and Ryan Van Bush is episode 101. And yes, you'll hear good stories with him in the next episode.
Yeah, he's a funny guy too. It was good. I was really surprised by that story because again, and you touched on this. It's pretty interesting that I stereotype, and I don't like getting stereotyped either. Again, because sometimes you go to business meetings, everybody's this blockhead hockey player doesn't know what he's talking about. And I do the same thing. So when we were talking to Ryan, and then he got talking, and I was like, wow, this guy's intelligent. It's good to see,
and very much so, and he self-educated too, which is awesome.
Yeah.
One thing I want to know is, and this comes up a lot, you use the term mutt heads, and I think you made that up. I don't think it's a real term. I mean, I get what it means, but you say it all the time. We're just a bunch of mutt heads. So where'd that come from?
I guess I did make it up. It's like, to me, it's like mutt dogs, right? They're all these mixed breeds, but they're loyal and everything, but they just keep plowing through things. That's pretty much what a lot of hockey players are.
I think if you would have said blockheads, people would get that, or knuckleheads, but mutt heads is I think I
use the blockhead every once in a while, but it's more mutt head. There's no question. Yeah. See, it's a term of endearment. I think it's like a mutt dog to me. I always had mutt dogs growing up on the farm, and they're just they're loyal.
So you're a mutt head. Yeah. So I just want, while we're talking about this 100, that's a nice number. Let's just look at some of our numbers. So I'm going to let you guess, which state do we have the most downloads in?
It got to be New York, right?
It's not New York.
Oh, it's not. New Jersey.
It is New Jersey. New York is second, followed by Connecticut. Obviously, we're local. But then we have some places like, well, this is just the last month, South Carolina, Ohio, Florida, North Carolina, Massachusetts always does well for us. Virginia, Texas. Texas is, I can tell you who that is. That's my friend's, I'm sure that's my friend's Carl Muller, the goalie, I suppose, Scott Morrison, Dave Varelli listens to that show. So those are some of our Texas listeners. I know that for a fact.
I love Texas. Love going down to Dallas. I mean, that's a great city.
Dallas is a great city. Yeah. Hopefully we'll get a Stanley. We'll talk about the Rangers in a little bit, but hopefully it would be great if we get a Stanley Cup there with the Rangers in Dallas.
Yeah. How about Dallas with handling Colorado? That surprised me. I thought Colorado was the team coming out of the West, but
Dallas is a good team, solid depth, and great goaltender. So that'd be tough.
I think that's been the problem with Colorado too. The goaltending hasn't been that great.
Georgiev, for a Ranger.
I don't like him too.
I do want to talk, as we're on these regional and where our listeners come from, I want to talk about some of the foreign countries where we have, obviously the United States is our number one landing spot and Canada second, but Finland comes in strong. I don't know, maybe Ray Roots of Lennon and his family are listening to you, or Esatika's family. But
did we try to get Ray on the show too?
We did, and he said he would, and we just, he believe he's coaching, but that season should be over now.
Right. He's coaching skating or something too, right?
Yeah, we should be, the way that guy skated. We get listeners in the UK, in Mexico, right. Belgium, Spain,
How was the Philippines? Nothing from the Philippines?
We do have Philippines, Israel, Russia, Greece.
That's one place I'd really like to travel to, the Philippines. I'm doing a lot of more homework on those Asian countries, the Philippines, Thailand.
So you met a woman from the Philippines. Is that what it is?
What is wrong with you?
Is that what it is?
I have met women from the Philippines, yes.
Because you were all about the Dominican Republic earlier, and then you were about, where else were you? There's another, some Colombia, maybe? You're going to go to Colombia?
I like those other cultures. I like, the Asian culture. I like the Spanish culture.
What about the culture do you like?
You know what I like? I mean, Africa. I mentioned African people. Very interesting cultures. Yes, I like that.
So the women, basically.
Well, yeah.
Okay. That's how you define culture, is the women.
Well, then once you meet the women, then you really learn about the culture. You can't just be with a woman just to be with a woman. Just get
right. So you're like, oh, it's nice to meet you, attractive woman, and yeah, I like your food. Great. Hello, Philippines.
Philippines, they adobo. Is it adobo? Their big food. It's like chicken.
Okay. Take your word for it. I'm vegetarian.
Kenyan food is very interesting too. It's they always have a protein with all their foods, and that's unique just to Kenyans, but just that's the basic staple of their rice in the Philippines is huge. You have to have rice with everything.
You met a woman from Kenya also?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Nellie was her name.
Nellie from Kenya. And what about and then from Colombia? Obviously, that's another one, right?
Yeah. Colombia. Yeah.
Mexico.
Nellie was a fantastic person too, but I've got this big thing about like respect and communication. So when somebody's speaking, it's important to stop and listen intently to what they're saying and let them complete their sentence. And you want the same respect coming back. So when you're speaking, somebody stops and listens to your conversation, right? You agree?
Well, no, I'm shocked to hear you say that.
Well, I guess I'm pretty good with that.
Because you're the steamroller. That's what we talk about this all the time, right?
But don't you think I'm pretty good at stopping and listening to other people's conversation?
No.
Really?
No.
Well,
no, you are. You are. And you're definitely good with the guests.
Right.
Yes.
So I brought this up to Nellie. You know, we have a nice relationship, nice person. I said, you know, you're a sweet person. And she was fantastic, beautiful woman. And I said, the problem is I have, like, when we were communicating, you want to interrupt me all the time. And she started laughing at me. So, well, that's not a problem. And no, so
that's no good for you. That's it.
Yeah.
I
thought it was a good exchange. So I was so open and honest with her. There was no arguing about it. And she was honest with her views too. So
I got to say, people, now this is audio, but you are looking a lot like Brock Lesnar right now, Tom. You look like you get in the ring at WWE and just, throw down.
I've been getting some great workouts in. Yeah. Oh, man.
You should work out with Lesnar. Get out there.
Brock Lesnar. Yeah. People say that to me a lot, the Brock Lesnar or the MMA fighter or something like that. Yeah.
He's a Minnesota guy, right? So he's got to have played hockey growing up, I would think.
Probably. Yeah. He's a big man too.
Big man. So I also want to jump around now, and one thing that's great for us is when people leave us reviews. And a listener who listens to every episode, my friend Brian Kaplan.
Brian Kaplan.
Brian Kaplan, Cappy. That's the nickname. Yeah, counselor. He's a lawyer in the city.
Oh, okay.
He's like, I don't know how to leave a review. I'm gonna have my son teach me how to do it. But he said I listen to every single episode.
Okay, I want this straight. He's a lawyer.
Yes.
He can't figure out how to leave a review.
That's correct. Sorry, Cappy.
Cappy, I'm sorry, bud, but what kind of lawyer are you? Like,
he's an immigration lawyer.
Immigration lawyer. Okay, so that's right, because the borders are wide open now.
Yes. Well, I don't think he's in charge of policy. I think he's in charge of helping refugees get asylum if they need it. So
that's a whole other subject there, the whole border patrol, right?
That's a completely different subject. But I wanted to go back. I brought that up because I want to go back to our reviews. And the first review we got was from someone named J.I. Solo. And he said, we'll read this out loud.
You know, it's a he or could be a she?
I have no idea who it is. He or she said, a great listen. I love hearing hockey stories from the past. The give and take between Tom and Pierre was relaxed and friendly. It made me feel like I was sitting on a couch in the room with them. I'm looking forward to the next episode. That was our first.
That's what you want too, right?
That's what you want. Absolutely.
Yeah. Remember we did way back and before I met you, we were at the start of the pandemic. I called up Ron Duguay, Rob Gresher, and Dave Maloney. He said, let's do a podcast. So these were live podcasts we did.
Yep.
And
they're more like Facebook shows.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it shouldn't be called a podcast, right? Because a podcast.
No, it's more of a show.
Yeah, it's a show. So we were just having a laugh. Duguay was in his bedroom, and he had the pretty maid in the back, and a whole bit talking about Studio 54, and the reviews were unbelievable. It's like people were just dying to listen to that whole locker room banter kind of thing.
Yeah. I think in the pandemic, especially in the beginning, people were bored out of their minds and looking for anything.
Yeah.
And so when they get to hear you guys tell stories, that's great. But I think we've gotten to have those stories, but more in a focused way.
Yeah.
With people tell one-on-one stories.
Yeah, because the show's really evolved now, I think, right? It was more where we wanted to have kind of a strict, first part of the show talking about them growing up, talk about them playing, talk about them after.
Yeah, and one of the questions, Rob Carr listened to I did. I'm sorry, Nellie. Nellie told me. She said do it. But Rob Carr said that one of your go-to questions is always, so where's home for you?
Yes. I don't do it as much anymore, though, do I?
No, you definitely don't.
You got your little, see, we have little sayings, too. So Tom's like, 100%.
Stop saying it, though. Stop saying it.
Don't stop saying it. It's part of who you are.
Well, you stopped saying, oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
So we've been, the critics have spoken, we stopped that. But I do like that the format has kind of changed into almost being like a free flow.
Yeah.
Where it's a little bit of hockey, but it's also light. Yeah. Look, everybody loves stories. Everybody loves hearing like a fight story, and everybody loves hearing locker room stuff. But also, you want to hear about these guys and their struggles in their life they're leading now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's been some real surprises, like talking to Clint Malarchuk with his suicide attempts.
Oh my gosh,
Richie Pilon. Malarchuk was funny. I talked to him recently since we did the show, and we're laughing because so he's got a great sense of humor, and he's dealt with all the stuff in the past. He's actually attempted suicide, shot himself. I think the bullet's still lodged in his brain there. I think, am I correct in that, or did
I don't know? It was the worst joke in the history of the show too.
Well, I know. So he's telling the story. He's kind of giggling about stuff, and it's really touch. And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, don't do it, Tom, don't do it." So I finally said to him, "I said, so good thing you're a bad shot."
Yeah. Wah wah wah.
Oh, I know. It's pretty funny, actually. He laughed about it. He was laughing about it.
It was, but
I was thinking to myself, Tom, I wouldn't have done it to anybody else. It just seemed like he is so well adjusted to everything. It's like,
okay. He definitely had a good reaction. He was fine, and he was open book, which was great. Yeah. And most of these guys have been, and I really thank them and appreciate their honesty and their willingness to share their stories with us, because it's great and people love hearing it, and it's just really to hear. It's humanizing,
Yeah. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Because I think people look at these NHL or just athletes in general that they've just got it made all the time, right? Everything's great. And hear about the struggles. And, one thing for me being a former player too, that you've heard it firsthand too, is that pretty much, well, not every guy, but a lot of the guys are all talking about how much they love playing. It was a dream come true. It was an honor and all. But now it's time that you're done. Now it's kind of like it's almost such a back in life, like timing wise. Now you're like 35 years old. Now you got to go into the real world. And we don't even know it's not the real world.
Yep.
We think that we're actually living in the real world. Yep. That's been a pretty common theme for a lot of guys. Just Kevin Kline was interesting to talk about too. That how he said he didn't really have a love relationship with hockey. Is that how he said it?
Yeah, it was his job.
Yeah,
he didn't love it. He didn't love hockey like he was very good at it, but he just didn't love it. I mean, think about it. This guy's in jobs and women in jobs who they don't love it, but they're good at it. It's a means to an end for their family, and it's how they survive. I think that it's important for us because, again, I bring the fan perspective, especially like the 10-year-old fan perspective when it was like when I really loved hockey, 10 to 12 years old. You guys, and I've pitched some shows and I've written some shows and I've worked a little bit with the NHL, and I said my idea is that hockey players in their jerseys are superheroes. They explode on camera. You see the colors, and it looks like a superhero costume.
Right.
And I think they should market that more, but that's neither here nor there. But to us, you guys are these superstars. You're these larger than life heroes. And then again, when I hear some of the things you guys were doing while we're waiting for autographs, it's like, what the hell is wrong with you people?
I know. Well, it's that whole thing that we think we are superheroes. Like we've been treated like superheroes. So we actually start to believe that we really are superheroes. So we could do anything we want to do, good and bad. Admittedly, a lot of stuff that we shouldn't have been doing. But we can get away with it because we did for our whole lives.
Yep.
We got away with it. And I think there's some guys that still struggle with that a little bit, even after they're retired, that they think they're still those superheroes. Where for me, I think it was probably easier for a guy like me because I wasn't that star guy. Like I could walk out of Madison Square Garden sometimes and people wouldn't know what it was. Right. They think I was Don Maloney or something else. So when I retired, it wasn't, I told the story when I got in the agent business, became an agent. I go on the road and checking into the hotel and give my ID, my credit card, and a whole bit. And they're looking, because there's this Laidlaw bus company up in Canada.
All right.
So they're looking at the name and they're going, Laidlaw. And I'm thinking, okay, can you please ask me if I'm Tom Laidlaw, the hockey player? Inevitably, they wouldn't ask me that. Are you Laidlaw with the bus company? And so my ego was like, I just retired from playing it. I can't remember. They think I work for the bus company. That's the kind of stuff you think back. Like my ego was bruised. Like I was like, you can't remember me?
Right.
You think back like,
well, you guys definitely, if people ask me all the time, like, oh, the Laidlaw and these guys, they can do whatever they want at the Garden, right? And I'm like, no, they're actually, they're considered almost like a bit of a nuisance. Like,
totally. Well, yeah, totally. I get to the point now, and I think this is healthy, and a lot of guys are like this, where listen, I played for the Rangers, I played for the Kings, I was treated fantastic by both organizations. I continue to be treated fantastic by both organizations. But nobody owes me anything. Like I'm an employee that used to work here, and I don't work there anymore. So anything they do for us is, and they've done some, especially the Rangers, because I live right here. The Kings have been great too. We had Luke Robitaille on, the president, my former teammate. So they're great too. But if I ever need something from Luke and call him up, like tickets or whatever, somebody else is down, he's always helped out. But yeah, I look at it. Okay, I'm not an employee anymore.
Right. No, they're great to you guys when you work for them. They're top notch. Yep. They take care of you guys. But like if players aren't just hanging around saying, "Hey, Chris Jury, I need 5 tickets for my buddies. They're like, that doesn't happen. They're like, we'll buy them.
Yeah, they're good. They'll give us tickets, but again, there's very strict rules. That's now again, if Mark Messier calls up and wants something special, he's going to get it. Right?
Well, he could just point to the banner and be like, guys,
totally. From my understanding, he doesn't take advantage of things either. One of my funniest stories recently was pertaining to Mark, but he wasn't there. But they have us go on the ice there at Madison Square Garden sometimes with a sponsor of the team, and they'll have a whole bunch of employees go on the ice. It was on one day, and this one guy and his girlfriend was like, I could tell he was way too excited. He thought I was somebody else. Very often it's Adam Graves or whatever.
Right.
And he got like 4 or 5 pictures taken. Then he said to his girlfriend, he says, I get another picture of Mark and I? And I realized he thought I was Mark Messier. And it's an awkward moment at that point because it's fine with me because it happens so much.
Sure.
But you don't want to embarrass the other guys.
You should have pointed at the banner in the picture and be like, make sure you get that in there. That's me, number 11.
So I had to say to him, I said, sorry, but I'm not Mark Messier.
Right.
Now, they get totally fucked because they think that they're insulting me somehow. And it's happened so much. We think it's kind of funny. We all joke around about it. But it is funny when we go to an event and they know more Adam Graves is going to be there.
Yep.
So if Adam and I are together, you can tell obviously there's a difference. But when we're separated, they can, because of the bald head and everything.
Yep.
So if he's there or going to be there, you can tell the dads or little kids. He goes, "That's Adam Graves over there." He's pointing to me, and you know what's happening.
Right.
And then when Adam shows up, the guy looks at me and goes, "Oh God, it's just Laidlaw."
It's a defensive defenseman.
Yeah.
The offensive lineman of the NHL. But there's a picture. I think it was from the trip to Dallas. I think it's you, Stephane Matteau, Brian Mullen, and Adam Graves.
Yeah.
You guys are all sitting there, all with the shaved heads.
Yeah.
All looking like a brother crowd. You're like you're all together. And
I think we all have black on too. We didn't patch that out. We all have black. Yeah. Oh, it is funny.
Yeah, you do some
but you can tell now when a fan comes up to you and they think you're somebody else. And then when you try to tell them, sometimes they'll argue with you.
Yeah.
They go, "No, I'm not."
Yes, you must be somebody.
Yeah.
I want to tell you a story. It's a story about a scandal, broken relationships, gossip, rumors, money, corporate rivalry, and a broom. A performance-enhancing broom. My name is John Cullen. I'm a comedian, podcaster, and for 20 years, I was a semi-professional curler. And I want to tell you the story about how a single broom almost imploded the 500-year-old sport of curling.
We felt like we were bringing a knife to a gunfight.
It's the story of a superstar and his fall from grace.
I was being dragged through the mud.
It's the story of 2 brother entrepreneurs with a dream.
I said, that's great news.
It's a story of intrigue.
I still don't understand why we want to keep his name secret.
The full story has never been told, so I'm going to tell it. Broomgate, how a broom almost killed curling.
It was a year I'd like to forget.
To listen to Broomgate, search for Broomgate in your favorite podcast app. That's all one word, Broomgate.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/match. Just go to Indeed.com/match right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/match. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Now, let me ask, how many times has you been doing this, as you've been doing this with the Raiders, have you seen a Laidlaw jersey in the crowd? Happen? Has it happened?
Somebody, maybe once, yeah. But somebody sent me a picture actually recently of some place in Brooklyn where a guy was walking around in a Laidlaw jersey, and it looked like a fairly young guy, too. I was like, wow. Yeah. I was in L.A. for a game recently, and we're walking back to the hotel, and so all the fans are leaving the building and everything, and the guy's walking around with an Allison jersey on. Mike Allison.
Oh, nice.
So he's a younger guy, and I went up to him. I said, "Hey, I'm Tom Laidlaw. He's played for the team, and good job wearing the Mike Allison uniform." And he was really nice at first, and he says, "Listen, I got to be honest. It was my father's jersey. I just didn't get a jersey."
Nice. Oh man. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. We had Brian Propp on the show, and he was great. You know, we went to his charity event, and he a couple of years ago, and he's had a stroke, and he recovered from it. But he was at a Flyers game, and he had to show him, or maybe it was an Eagles game. And he was walking in, and someone was wearing a Prop jersey. And I walked up, and he's like, "Hey, can I sign this for you?" And the guy was like, huh? And then the guy goes, that's Brian Propp. And he signed the guy's jersey, took pictures with it. It was pretty cool, you know?
Yeah, it is funny. Because you think, like, so I played for the Rangers, like 40 years ago or whatever, right? You forget that sometimes. So there's a lot of, you go to events and the fans are really nice too. Like, I'll come up and I really made a point now, introducing myself so people know I'm Tom Laidlaw. I used to play for the Rangers. Because a lot of times they'll be nice and like, like, who is that guy? You know? And but it is funny going to games, especially because I had long hair when I played. People will be looking at me. They see us using this one section 104. And so the people that are there know, they've seen the alumni come and go, so they know who we are and everything. But there'll be a lot of times where the guys are looking at me, I think he's somebody. But they said they think I'm a wrestler or something like that.
Yeah.
No. And then somebody said, that's Tom Laidlaw. And then all of a sudden, I remember.
Well, we did. It's funny because true story is that we had, so the announcer at the beginning of the show is Mike Fataco, who's an audio engineer and a goalie himself. And when we did the first, he did the first records of, he says, what does he say? This is Full Change with Tom Laidlaw.
Yeah.
Well, his uncle, you were his favorite player.
Oh.
So I remember we called his uncle. And did you call him or did you leave him? I forget.
I think we called him.
Yeah, and he was like thrilled. It was like, because, he was a little bit older, so he was a big fan back in the day. So that was pretty cool to see.
We did a charity game, probably 3 or 4 years ago, or before the pandemic. And they sit in the locker room, got the fans pay to play in those games and everything like that. So the guy they seated beside me was a Laidlaw fan when he was a kid. So he brought his little jersey that he had. His kid is so cute, like his little jersey. You tell like he's a grown man. That was going to fit on him. Actually, I've got a picture of it too. Maybe I'll post that.
Let's post that for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to, you could tell he was so excited. Whoever his favorite player was happened to be.
Yeah. Well, that's super cool. I mean, it's just great to connect with that. Those memories from when you were a kid. Again, for me, I worked in TV and I did some cool stuff and I got to meet a lot of people. But I say to friends all the time, I say, if my 12-year-old self could see my phone book. And all the, it's like I have my whole hockey card collection is in the phone book, and it's just it's a cool thing, it's a cool thing.
Don't you think too? Like we have, as players, we take a lot of pride in the fact that yes, we're muttheads and we've done some stupid stuff.
There's that word. There it is.
But we also take a lot of pride in being good to the fans too. Like we say, like listen, we're no better than anybody else. It's really important that we take care of the fans properly. So.
Hockey players are the best, hands down. They're the best at that. No, they're just flat out the best at interacting with the fans and being cool. Because it's that. Still majority of you guys are Canadian farm boys, and that's where that ethic comes from, that work ethic. You're not, now it's probably changed in this generation because they're growing up with social media from 9 years old. But no, hockey players are just great, man.
I've gotten to have it too when I go to events, and somebody says to me, my father was a big fan. I said, well, let's pull the phone out. Let's do a FaceTime with your father.
Yeah.
And they go, I said, sure, is that all right?
I've seen you do it. It's great. I've seen you do it. And you also, I remember you introduced yourself, Tom Laidlaw, New York Rangers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I met you at Fritz. I'm like, yeah, no, I know. I'm here. I'm the
hockey. You know what it is? I think that it makes them, puts them in an awkward spot because they're trying to figure out who I am.
Gotcha.
And I think in the past where you don't want to be egotistical and announce you play for the Rangers, but I found out through business and everything too that people want to know.
No, they want to know that.
Yeah.
They absolutely want to know that, and that's important to get it out there. Just get it out, put it out there right away, and it's done. Thinking back to a show when we had Rick Zombo on, who was a very interesting guy. He told a great story. But then I remember that I was in Los Angeles with my friend Rob Carr back in big listener to the show.
Carzy.
Robbie Carr. Robbie and Ed Carr, his brother, also big listener. They need to catch up, though. They're a little bit behind.
Yeah,
but
cool.
Rob Carr and I were in staying in the same hotel that the Rangers were and that the St. Louis Blues were. And it was the night Hull got his 50th and 50.
Right.
And him and Adam Oates, remember to this day, and Zombo came in hammered. They came through the lobby, just baked. They were so drunk. And Hull was like, there were guys waiting for autographs, and kids and family, and he's like, fuck you, I'm not signing anything. Get the fuck out of my face with these fucking things. And they were just plastered. And we remember that to this day. It was like, wow, Hull was freaking lit up. Yeah. And if there were cameras back then, it might have been ugly for him. But actually, with him, he probably wouldn't care. But they had a good time that night.
I'll tell you, the beer drinking, and I guess I didn't like it. After telling the stories, people are like, are you serious? Like, you guys really drank that much beer? It was just so much part of the culture. I'm not trying to make excuses saying it was right or anything like that, but I think back, like when I first turned pro, I mean, I'm in college, so we went out drinking with the boys there too, but the pro players back then, when I turned pro in 1980, oh man, drinking beer was all part of the package. There's beer in the locker room, after the games, beer on the bus, beer on the plane.
Well, think about the expression though, Tom. They say it, and I don't, it's still there today. It says all roads lead to the beer league. And they still have the beer league. Like I don't drink, but I go to games when I don't really play that much anymore. When I was playing, even just the last couple of years, game's over. There's a cooler in the middle of the locker room. Guys just having their beers.
I know. And it was all part of the bonding too, right? Like I've told you the stories in times where out in LA, where I was like, built a reputation of being the guy, the assistant captain, unsung hero, all this kind of stuff. But if I go drink beer with Tommy. So Bruce McNall, the owner, would give me $2,000 in cash. Say, all right, Tom, take all the boys out for beers.
Wow. Yeah, you said that on, and he was, what a great guest he was. I think that's episode 35, if people want to go back and listen to it. What a great story, and kind of a tragic story, but
yeah. Well, you know what I like too, that he maybe a little bit, pulls the banks into it too, but he was bank fraud. I think he got in trouble for, correct?
Yeah, but he didn't, but the way it turned out is he didn't really defraud. There were no victims.
Yeah.
The money was, I think it was paid back, and there was no, it's kind of a victimless crime. Not even really a crime. It was kind of
and to that point, like he really didn't throw anybody under the bus. He said, no, ultimately I did it.
Yeah.
Right? So,
yeah, he didn't. Yeah. But he said the banks weren't victims. They didn't claim to be victims. They didn't look for any, recompense. So, but still,
I like too. Like you talk about how Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn went to visit him in prison too. That was pretty cool. Right?
Very cool. Yeah. And no one knows about that stuff. And there's a lot, that a lot of things that goes on in this world that people just don't see.
Yeah.
Like a lot of behind the scenes, really like goodness, and that's pretty awesome. There's some fucked up stuff too, obviously, but majority of it is a lot of good that goes on that doesn't get the light of day. And that's a shame.
Another thing with the hockey community too, that it's owners, it's management, players. It's done very quietly. Barry Beck with his tragic times. He was involved in Mark Pavley stuff. His son was murdered.
Yeah.
So I love Barry. We were great teammates. He was a captain. But particularly with Pav's situation, he wanted to make this a very public thing. And what I was trying to explain to him is that Barry was saying that nobody does anything to help the alumni guys, which just isn't true in the NHL world. There's some fantastic stuff being done, but it's always done behind the scenes. Like Glenn Sather has done some things that I don't think he wants to make it public, but he's done some things to help players.
Well, Barry Beck said it on our show. He said he grabbed them and said, "You're getting help. We're getting help now." That he put it was in Pennsylvania, I think. And
they really took care of him. And this was after Barry went very public. And I think Barry realized that he was at that point. Now he understood he was wrong. That the league, the teams, the individuals all do great things.
Yeah,
Glenn Sather's got this reputation of being this big hard ass, right?
Yeah.
But if you heard all the stories of the guys he took care of, both played for him and other teams, and then that goes for a lot of guys around the league. There was a story. I'm careful. That's actually a reporter, a good friend of mine. Well, it's Kevin Allen, and his daughter was ill. She's still ill. She's suffering some form of cancer.
Oh man.
Yeah, and when it first happened, this time must have been 10 years ago. He called up. Again, be careful of this. But he called up a member of management that he knew. That member of management called an owner of a team, and they supplied a private plane for Kevin and his wife to go down to South America someplace. So to pick them up and take them. It was,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff, nobody talks about it.
Yep.
It's just done. And that stuff is done all the time. And I'm sure it's other leagues too.
No, but it's pretty special. I mean, Sather, yes, he gets that rep, but I remember Danny Gare being on the show. Danny Gare was with the Oilers the Cup year. Then he was I guess waived or bought out, and then they bought him back to be with the team in the playoffs. And they gave him a ring, which was pretty cool. And that was all.
Not about that. That is cool, yeah.
It's pretty awesome. And that was the end of his career. And then of course, everybody who's on the show, everybody across the board is a fan when it comes to Wayne Gretzky, and everybody has a Gretzky story. Every single person we've had on the show, it seems like, has a Gretzky story. Myself, yourself included, and it's it's like. Again, I think we forget, and maybe people who are a little young don't realize, we got to see Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
We got to see the greatest of all time, and then the stories where he's, some of them are funny stories that are, are a little bit not peachy, but a lot of them are just of how good he is to people.
I'll never forget. I've told this many times, dude. That first training camp we were in Hull. I think it was the first training camp.
You've told this many.
It was
many times.
It was one of the highlights of my life because it was all setting, right? You get Larry Robinson and Dave Taylor and John Tonelli and Wayne.
Yep.
And so it's the first day of training camp, and we have the physicals in the morning, and then we do whatever we want during the day. They come back for media at night. Rogie Vachon's the GM, fantastic guy, but kind of meek and mild. Like he spoke, he wasn't this big, powerful speaker. So the whole team goes to the strip joint, and we go into the private room, whatever it's called, and take some underwear.
Cover the mirror. Yes, we know this. Anyone listening knows this. And you had the get out of jail Wayne card.
Oh God, Timmy and I are sitting there going, they're just both little guys giggling. We shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be doing this. We're with Wayne.
We're with the big guy. Oh
God,
no harm.
That was like my first experience doing that with him. So that's why I think it was so funny and so memorable. There's like there's a whole different world. We can do what we want. And again, probably wasn't fair to Rogie because now we go back for the meeting. We're giggling like a bunch of little kids. So poor Rogie.
Wayne's there. It's all good, man. You just can't mess. You're in. We
got to get Larry Robinson on the show. I could have get Larry Robinson's number, get him on the show. One of the most fantastic people. I just idolized him as a player. thought he could do everything. Hit, fight, score, kill penalties.
Oh, dude, he was one of the greatest defensemen of all time. Again, I think I mentioned this on the show we talked about. There's the documentary about the Broad Street Bullies, how the Flyers won the 2 cups, and then at night it says, and then their run ended because, and in the documentary it famously says, and then they ran into Larry Robinson, and they said he was like the answer to the Broad Street Bullies, and the Canadians went and won their 4 cups. So I mean, this guy is he's when the Devils won the cup and he's coaching. Sikora was knocked out, was in the hospital. Larry Robinson put on his jersey for the celebration.
That's right.
It's just so cool, man. Yeah. And people be like, "How should you do that? He's the coach." But dude, it's just like he didn't care. He's Larry Robinson, and he put on the guys. That was awesome, awesome stuff. We're working on him.
We came to LA and played. I was just like I was following him everywhere. I just felt like a little kid. And I played like 9 or 10 years in the league at that point too. So it wasn't, I played against Larry.
And that was Wayne who brought him in, right? Wayne made them get him.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
I know, that's what I thought. Yeah, Wayne wanted him there, and well, they also got Yari Curry.
Yeah, it could have been. He was Wayne was very good. But another Wayne, he probably was doing that stuff, but he'd always have it behind the scene. Like he didn't want to be known as the guy that was running the team. Although, Wayne Gretzky comes in and tells you what he wants, you got to do it.
Right. Well, Bruce McNall said when they made the trade, Gretzky wanted, he wanted the guys who came with him, and that was he's like, well, we got to get me these guys to come. But we're working on getting Wayne on. What friend of yours bumped into him in the airport recently, and he said, he's like, yeah, tell Tom to give me a call. So that's going to happen. He was at the Ranger game last night, so we're working on him. Working on Phil Esposito. The deal was, and we have to get 3 bottles of vodka to Tampa for Phil. So we're working.
Although we're going to, I'm scared to death. We're going to get banned from.
He can say 5 salads. You can't get banned on a podcast. You put that explicit E on it, and then you can say whatever you want, and he'll be fine. So.
And once Phil gets going too, like you can say to Phil, "Listen, Phil, you're swearing too much. You just keep going. We'll stop.
Well, I want to get him. I want to get Marcel Dion on to see how he felt in that devastating trade when you were the return on the trade. Let's see how he took that. If he wanted to just end his career.
His career was never saved after that.
No, and it's funny. We talk about when you had an offer when you retired, and so someone said, "Did you get an offer?" And I said, "Yes, he got an offer from TWA to fly home." Because that was all you had on the table at the time. But it
was over.
But that was
what we've talked and laughed about too is when other guys get traded, everybody just moves on, right? And then when you get traded, and all the guys talk about this, it's like, where's everybody gone? Like,
right? Well, what happened, guys? It's almost like when you buy a house for the first time. If you had the privilege to buy a house, I expected streamers to come down and a band to come in and a celebration. And they're like, sign this. They're like, okay, here's the keys. Thanks. Yeah. And it's like, that's it. That's all it is. It's almost like getting married, right?
Well, I got married. You touched on this. I got married twice, and I did not propose to either one of my wives.
I am in the non-proposal group too.
Really? You did propose?
Yeah,
you told me this story. Yeah,
we just went to the local city hall and just got married. And
so you know how stubborn I am, right?
Yes.
So, but I think to myself, okay, if I'm going to get married, let her make some decisions, especially the first wife, don't be this stubborn guy all the time.
Yep.
So she wanted to have the wedding on a boat, a big yacht. Now, here in the New York area, there's lots of yachts. There, right?
Sure.
Party yachts, all kind of stuff. She's decided that she wants to get a yacht that has not been made yet. It's going to be made so there's months in advance, obviously. It'll be made just in time for the wedding.
Right.
So the wedding's on Saturday, whatever it is. The boat shows up on Friday night. No air conditioning, no carpets in it, whatever. So that
was the name Titanic 2? Was that?
Yeah. Pierre LaRouche went in the bathroom. The toilet exploded on him.
Oh, wait, that's a great. Wait, hold on. Before you finish the story. So which of your teammates did you invite to their wedding? Because people would love to hear that.
Yeah, well, we had to limit it because, again, I think you'd have 50 people on it.
Because the boat wasn't finished. That's what.
Yeah, the boat was finished. Oh, God.
So who went? Pierre? Who else?
Pierre was there. I think it was really whoever was in town. And I had said to my old buddies at college, Walt and John Kyle in particular, I said, I'll never get married. But if I ever do get married, I'll fly you guys in, put you up at the hotel. So I had to fly them in.
So you came through.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Both weddings.
No, not the first one. We really just went to the Justice of Peace in the first one. And then we went on a little honeymoon down to where's it? Down in South Florida. What's that? The Keys.
Okay.
Very nice. And then we came back and had a little party. So it was
nice. And
it really wasn't like, again, I moved on from hockey so much. It was more like her family was from Greenwich where we had the party. So a lot of her family members there.
Sure.
My youngest son, Cody, didn't show up. He had something to store. He was younger.
Wait, this is your second wedding?
Second wedding, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the one on the boat?
Yes. No, the first one was the one on the boat.
First on the boat. Okay. So yeah. Pierre LaRouche is there. Who's your best man? Do you have one?
Oh, Mike Grudge. Mike Rogers.
That's right. Okay, Mike Rogers. And then
I think Gresh maybe. There's all guys that were local as far as like the Rangers. So I don't, there's a lot of family and stuff.
Well, it did work. You got some kids out of it. And now you have a nice relationship with your second wife. You guys are friendly now, which is good.
Definitely. Well, here's the thing. I had a buddy of mine, he played hockey at Yale, successful businessman. And he had a friend that he'd seen in college. They went out one night in the city, a female friend. Things went well, and they spent the night together. She ended up getting pregnant. Now, they knew they had no intention of getting married, right? They liked each other as friends, but there's no love there, whatever. It's a one-night thing. So they decided to co-parent. So they had the child, and he gets, I'm guessing, mixed child, but he didn't have to get married and he has kids. That's brilliant. So you got to write a book.
Gaming the system.
Here's another one. We'll talk about this more. So they started a team in Salt Lake City, right?
Yes.
Where polygamy is legal.
But it's not legal.
Yeah, it is. I looked it up.
Are you sure it's legal right now as we speak?
It was recently passed that it's legal. Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, go ahead. So,
I think just in Salt Lake City. So now these hockey players come in, and it just opens up this whole new world. You can say, okay, I can have multiple wives. Like I'm going to go through the list of the roster of the Arizona team that's now moving to Salt Lake City. Okay, which guy do you figure here is going to have multiple wives? Right.
Usually goalies. Goalies are a little bit quirky.
Yeah. So that's going to be I do my live show on Thursday, so we'll have that discussion. We'll go through the list there.
Oh, you know what, Tom? You're right. It's decriminalized.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
This happened though recently. It was last couple of years, right?
Yeah, last couple of years. Yep. Decriminalized. Wow. So you should move. Well, you don't like getting married anyway,
but here's the thing too. Now think about it. So let's say a guy's playing in New York. He can have the multiple wives all in Salt Lake City, leave them there, and then bring in one at a time to his home. He's not doing anything wrong. No, it's not multiple wives.
No, it's legal.
How does that all work too? So you marry the first one, and then you start dating other ones, like because you get just married.
Well, they're called sister wives. So there's the lead wife, and then there's the sister wives. And I don't know how the rest of it works. I've only seen a couple of those shows, but I just think it's way too much to handle.
Imagine that. I had a hard time with one wife. I couldn't stay married to one wife.
Really? Like how many? You could have 5 divorces at once, Tom.
What a lifestyle that is.
Let's just peruse the roster. I think they're a pretty young roster, so I wouldn't think that they're going to have a lot of guys. I don't think Clayton Keller's going to have multiple wives. But
think about it, so hockey players back when we played, like you've seen Dave Sokenai. Let's use Dave Sokenai for example. So if we had the chance in those days to have multiple wives,
you probably would do it. You did it. You definitely would have multiple wives. Yeah, you would for sure. Well, you didn't think you do anything wrong, so it didn't matter.
Well, yeah. So you're not cheating. I mean, you don't have to have any outside women, right? You don't have to have
right. Because now, did you guys have understandings with your wives that you were just going to go out and meet other women, or
I did not. There's a lot of guys that did. Yeah, there's some swingers. Swingers too. Yeah.
We've had some on the show. Not going to say names, but we've had some on the show.
God, did I ever tell a story? Okay, we'll leave names out of it, obviously, but
yeah,
player that played. A young player came up, Western Canada, like 18-year-old kid.
Yep.
And he was on a team there was a husband and wife pair that were swingers.
Careful here.
What's that, sorry?
It's careful here.
Yeah. Okay. So they have a team party, and after the party, they invite this young player back to their place to spend the night. He knows nothing. Like he doesn't know. Okay. Even if somebody said to him that these are swingers, he wouldn't know what it was.
Yep.
So in the middle of the night, the player brings down his wife and performs a sexual act in front of this young player. Now this young player is panicking.
What the hell do I do?
The player now leaves his wife. He goes upstairs and leaves his wife downstairs, and she's performing in front of him.
Yep.
The young player. Now the player again doesn't know what to do. So everybody goes to bed. Now the player wakes. He's scared to death, and this teammate, who he's just watched his wife perform these acts. They get in the car, and the player starts yelling at him, like, "Why don't you do
this with my wife?" Yep.
The guy's like, "What?
What?"
Oh God!
So imagine you're a 20-year-old kid, and now this vet is like, "Dude, you didn't take care of my wife. What's wrong with you?" It's like, wait, how would I even know that? You know?
I know. He told some other players, and so the players, I was representing players at the time, so they came and told me. So years later, it wasn't that long later, I ran into this player that had performed the acts with his wife, and he had a few beers together, and he starts to tell stories. And I said, "Listen, I got to ask you, did this really happen?" He goes, "Yep, absolutely." Yeah. There was no hiding.
Yeah, no, listen, and he's actually a really nice guy, and he's been on the show, and it's and there was another story of someone who ran afoul of the team's ownership because he was having an affair with the owner's wife of the team.
Weren't they swapping?
I don't know if they were swapping, but were they swapping? I know
I had heard the story that they were swapping, yes.
Yeah, we're not going to mention any names, but that's an earlier episode that you can check out on the show. It doesn't come up, but we dropped some hints about it.
It's amazing. Like some of the things where the wives and the other players do, and everything. There's times where, they're okay, because maybe they come on.
No names. Down the road. Yeah, no names.
But there's a couple of times where guys have gone on the road and left their wives behind, and a player was injured or something, and he ended up with the other. Like, I mean, I'm thinking about there's in the hockey city, especially you're an NHL player, you have to sleep with your teammate's wife. There's lots of women around. It's like,
obviously you would never engage in this particular behavior because you're above the board. I mean, yes, the divorces, which weren't your fault, either of them. That you would never ever do anything like this. But
my second wife, when we had a really pleasant conversation years after getting divorced, and her mother had passed away, so I didn't know for a couple of weeks. I finally so I called her, wished my condolences, and we started having like a very adult conversation, which was, and I was amazed when she said to me, she said, "Well, you never talked to me like this at all. I could never talk to you with marriage." I was like, I felt so bad. She was such a sweet person too. I'm thinking, is that really bad?
I just became a human being recently, so I just want to.
At least I'm making steps towards me.
Yeah, you're getting there. I want to jump back in and do another review. So Jonathan in Detroit, he said, this is a great review. It's the most recent one. These are perfect 5-star reviews. He said, Mr. Nude Northern Michigan and the former teen model in the Nikki Fatiou picture have a great thing going here. Well done. Ledge has really found his voice in making guests comfortable. Laidlaw has mastered coaxing very personal and sometimes painful stories out of the guests, and the sense of humor puts everyone at ease. Mr. Smith brings it in very interesting guests and isn't afraid to show he's a Ranger fan living a hockey fan's dream. Keep crushing it, Tom and Tom. Then he said, Laidlaw was on Survivor? I didn't know that. Well, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
That is a well-written review.
Yes. Mr. Nude, Northern Michigan. Oh, God. That's an embarrassing time. I've told you that story, right?
Yes. Okay. We've heard it. And I'm a teen model now, apparently, because I'm in a Nick Fatiou picture at the Garden. So I'll take it. We will definitely take it.
Oh, man. When I had Helene Elliott was the woman in question, was a great reporter for Newsday, I believe it was, when I played with the Rangers. And I wouldn't prance around in the locker room with no clothes on. I'd put a tube sock on my junk. And I'd be walking around calling myself Mr. Nude Northern. No. So everyone else is laughing, and I'm thinking it's really funny. Now, fast forward decades. I'm an adult. I'm in the agent business. And one of my clients, Warren Reichel, was playing out in Anaheim where Helene Elliott was now writing. So she'd contacted me, wanted to do an interview. I think she contacted me in advance before she called me. But either way, she called me. When I heard her voice on the phone, I was just mortified. I'm like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that she was dying laughing because here's Mr. Big Mouth. And I couldn't say, I didn't know what to say to her. So here I am stuttering my words, and she just thinks it's hilarious. She had such a great sense of humor, thank God.
She's like, she got you silenced.
Oh, totally. Yeah. She was so funny because she was crying, laughing on the phone because she knew me from years ago where here I am, this idiot walking around saying I'm Mr. Nude Northern Michigan.
And now you're like, no, I'm a regular guy now. Not such a mutthead anymore.
I know, I've got kids and everything.
Here's one from Matty D 145735. He says, top shelf. Tom Laidlaw has a deep-rooted roots in the hockey community. His friendships and stories are both informative and entertaining. Tom Smith is a top-notch producer. These are great listens for any hockey fan. Oh, I have to agree with all of that. I think Matty D 145735 is.
Do we know him?
I don't know who. No idea.
It's just a random. It's not somebody that's friends with us.
No, I don't know who it is. Here's. Let's see if we can find another one. Berkey 10. Awesome. Great listen for any hockey lover and especially New York Ranger fans like myself. Tom Laidlaw is one funny man and Tom Smith keeps it rolling. Great podcast. All right. Thanks, guys.
Funny man. I'm a funny man.
Are you? Yes.
Well, because I think I'm so, like, I go to places that, like when I talk about bidets and toilets.
You're funny. You're definitely funny. Dan Richter, who's one of the coaches at the my son's organization, he really likes the show. Big Capitals fan. But he just comments. He was talking about the last episode. He just texts me and says, well, I got to tell you what he said. It was pretty funny because he was like, he's a fan of Laidlaw.
Right? I meet him.
You met Andy Lane and maybe Brian. I don't think you met Dan, but he said, I was laughing at the beginning of the podcast regarding the hugging. We had a generation of guys at work, and he was a fireman, retired fireman, who would give you a New York City fireman, who would give you a big hug and kiss on the neck. At first, I was like, what the fuck? But then came to realize it was a sign of respect and acceptance when you got to a certain point. then you look forward to finally getting the kiss on the cheek. So
the kiss on the men are kissing each other on the cheek.
Well, now my mother's side of the family is Sicilian, so that was. Then I told this to Dan, like that was common. You grew up and you were hugging, and there were kisses, and everyone just kissed, like like the mafia kiss. You've seen it in movies. That was just a thing. Look, Tom's uncomfortable already right now. Look, you're in. I can see you. You're squirming.
It's the staged hug, like we just discussed before. Total respect for Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider, but they do this staged hug thing. In the game, they got the spotlight on them the whole bit. It's like, okay, wait for the camera to get on us. Let's hug each other. Like to me,
no, I think that was their routine, and the camera just found them. It says, oh, they do this every game. If you're a producer, you're like, oh, look, we got to get this. Look, they're doing the hug. Get the hug. Get the hug.
But then if I'm a guy, I'm thinking, okay, this is our private moment. Like, why not go in the locker room, give each other a hug? Why would you hug each other in front of 18,000 people?
Because you are all incredibly superstitious, obsessive, compulsive creatures, and that's the thing they do when he leaves the ice. He hugs his teammate, and I have no problem with it. But we should talk about the Rangers because we haven't touched on that, and it's a little bit of trouble right now.
Well, their big four guys are so important, right? Panarin, Kreider, Zibanejad, Trocheck, and they were playing fantastic for the first part of the playoffs. Last couple of games, particularly last game that they lost 4-1, right? Last night?
Yeah, they got smoked.
Yeah. Those big four guys did show up to play. Nope. Now, that happens. It's not, but I mean, to have all four guys look like they just were not into it. Again, you got to give Carolina a lot of credit, too. Like, Carolina's really done a good job.
That's the big point. Going into this, everybody thought Carolina's a great team. This is going to be a really hard series. I think the Rangers and fans were a little spoiled by the early success they had, and they won 3 one-goal games. Yep. And this is a tough series. I have some friends who are fans, like Dennis Jelcik, who you know works for the Rangers. He's like, this is it. This team is letting me down again. He's like, he's like, they're gonna. He goes, I'm not even gonna watch. I'm pretty sure he'll watch, but people are starting to push the panic button in Rangerland.
Yeah,
they should.
Oh, no, they should. But here's the thing, too. Like, Madison Square Gardens is one of the best places to play ever. It's amazing. You go back to watch games, it's fantastic. But there's good and bad, right? The Ranger fans are diehard fans. They really believe they're involved in the game. They're that far into it.
Yep.
So now when everything's going well, the Garden's like rocking and rolling.
Yep.
But things don't go well. You could feel it when you're playing. Like, you could feel like it's not even the noise, it's the whole.
Oh, they were heading for the exits last night. They were bailing on.
And that's when you're a young player. It's really unnerving. Like, you're thinking, this is New York City. It's at Manhattan. You're on the 5th floor. You got 18,000 people. It's Madison Square Garden. And these people are all now, like, you think they hate you. They don't hate you. They love you just as much as ever. Yeah.
I was watching with Christine last night, and she's like, are they booing? And I was like, yeah, they're booing the Rangers right now.
That is one of the worst feelings, too, especially when you're a young player. You're a veteran guy, you get used to it.
But 4 days ago, everybody was, they were handing out the Stanley Cup. Yeah. They were like, they're 7-0. This is great. Yeah. So they run into a bit of a hiccup. Hopefully that's all it is. And they turn it on tomorrow. My brother Damien, who's also a big listener to the show, he lives in South Carolina. He went to game 4, and he'll be he's going to game 6 tomorrow. So which will be, this comes out. Yes, it'll be tomorrow. So he's going to game 6. Hopefully he can bring some luck. But they're in a series, man. They got their hands full.
They tell you they're having a viewing party at MSG on Thursday night for the game.
Oh, nice. People pay like $10, come in and watch the game.
Yeah, they got a whole bunch of alumni guys in the series.
Are you working it?
Yeah.
Who you with? Who's on?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's the Stefan Mattos and Brian Mullins and Ron Breshner, if you can get there. Our poor buddy Gresh. We got to get him on the show.
Yes.
His health is not very good. For people that
have some issues with his knees?
Knees, hips, overall health. He's a proud man, and I'd offered to help him a while ago, and he was not too happy making that offer. Because it sounds like it's, okay, I'm better than you. I'll tell you what to do. And that's not how it's intended. But recently I reached out to him, and because I heard he wasn't doing well, and he was much more receptive to learning stuff. It's just more, as you know the stuff already. So much your health is controlled by what you put in your body, how much you exercise and everything. And it's learning all that stuff. That's why for me, during the pandemic, it was, I hate to say it, a lot of people went through some terrible stuff, but for me, it was excellent.
Yeah, and I think what you mentioned, Gresh, the hardest thing that I think the main thing we've learned from this show, or at least I have, is that one of the hardest things to do, especially for a man, is to say you need help, to ask for help. Nobody wants to do it, and the ones that do all of them say that's kind of when things started to turn around. Yeah. When I got here.
Remember we had Kevin Klein on too, and he talked about how he was very different. Like, he would open up and talk about his feelings all the time.
Yep.
And you kind of laughed at me. I'll just be totally honest. It was, like I said, and it was Sheldon Surrey talking about too, how his now wife looked at him and said, listen, but he kind of had a relapse, drugs and everything. And she said, this is not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
And I was amazed, like, to say to him, how did you know that she was going to stay? Because I have these, I think that everybody's going to leave me all the time kind of stuff. And it's been amazing. Where's I going with that? I can't remember.
I don't know. Well, just getting help. I think that's the hard thing. Just asking for help is really difficult, especially for men, because your pride gets in the way. But like once you say, hey, I need help here, then you get it. Ask somebody, reach out.
Yeah. And it's really, you got to, to me though, it continues on after that, right? Because now you got to stay strong, because now there's this feeling it's not accurate, but people are now looking at you differently because you're asking for help. And isn't that way, but that's our male pride. Like I've told the story so many times when I retired, and I'm still in that kind of hockey playing mode, drinking beer all the time. And I was getting clients and they're calling me at night, and I've had like 6, 8, 10 beers or whatever. And so I quit playing. I quit drinking for about 5 years. And the weirdest thing I look back at, like, this is the way my mind was thinking, that I was worried about what people were going to think about me because I wasn't drinking beer anymore.
Right.
I think about it now, it's like stupid, but it's like that's how I felt back then. So.
No, I remember talking to, I guess it was Sheldon Surrey too. And when I stopped drinking 22 whatever years ago, like I was like, God, I can't go to a wedding. I'm going to be the most boring person in the world, and I can't do this. And but then I was like, who gives a shit? No one cares. Yeah, no one cares. Just go.
Especially in a wedding setting like that too. Everybody was drinking anyway, so they're having a few pops. They don't know what's going on around.
No, nobody cares that you're not drinking. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. And that's how it should be. And again, getting help is the hardest be you. Like you're getting very good at that, Tom, because I really need to say, we should have opened with this, but you were just, I don't want to say embarrassed yourself, but you just proved that athletes in one sport doesn't transition over to another sport, because you threw, there's been Baba Booey, 50 Cent, and maybe you're up there with some of the worst first pitches in the history. Obama threw a terrible first pitch.
I went back
ceremonial pitches.
I went on YouTube before I threw the pitch. So I was in the Staten Island, the Ferry Hawks.
Ferry Hawks, yep.
So they had
minor league baseball team.
So before that, I went on YouTube and watched some of the bad pitches. There's this one woman, blonde woman, very attractive. She didn't come close. There was a photographer off to the side. She threw the ball, hit him right in the head. Oh, man. So she wasn't close. There's a couple of times where it hit the guy's crotch too. It was very funny stuff. So I thought, okay, so there's people worse than me out there. But when I got there, they had 3 other people throwing the first pitch before me. 2 gentlemen, perfect strikes. Looked like they were professional pitchers. 12-year-old boy gets up, perfect strike. So now I know that there's very little chance I'm going to get into the catcher's mitt. I haven't thrown a ball in like 20 years. My shoulders fall apart and everything. So I get up there and let it go. And
first off, you cheated. You didn't throw from the mound.
Yeah, I fell. You
fell 10 feet forward?
Yeah. The catcher was fantastic. So I'm off to the side and short. He does that thing where he brings it back into the center of the plate.
He frames it. Well, he brought it off the ground to the center of the
Yes, he did. Yes. I'm glad I made it to him, because it was
did it? It got there?
It got there eventually. Yeah. Somebody asked me that, did they get to the catcher? I said, well, eventually it did. But I told everybody, I said, listen, I'm trying to keep it away from the inside of the plate. Right? That's my strategy.
So. Yeah. Try to keep it away from the ground. Because you led about 27 feet, and then it rolled the rest of the way. So it did get there, like you said.
Oh, got it. You know what's funny, though, too, what I'm proud of is that, like, people are going to laugh, but that's why I say, okay, if I'm going to post all the good stuff, I'm doing like good workouts and everything, I've got to post the bad stuff, too. So make sure I post it. Because I said, you know what? A lot of the people are sitting on the couch eating hot dogs. They're him out there throwing out the first.
No, that's one. And luckily for you, it was a miserable day. So the crowd was not what they probably had hoped it would be, because it was like rainy and
well, maybe I didn't tell you this. I think that's what happened. The ball was wet. Probably slipped under my hands.
Well, it was dry for the other 2 guys and the 12-year-old kid, and then it was wet for you.
Because I had to be out there longer because I had to watch that pitch. So I forgot to mention that part. Yeah.
So even though the 2 balls they threw didn't hit the ground, and it was dry when it came back and forth,
but everybody had their own ball. They had their own ball. I still have the ball. Yeah.
You did. You didn't sign it and give it to a fan?
No, we had jerseys and everything there for the Rangers all set up. Man, that was funny though too. What a blast! It was like as much as pitch didn't go where I wanted to go. I was really excited, having fun out there. I was really surprised today. That much fun. It was cool.
So to take it full circle, we were on an Amazon show hosted by Eitan Levine early in the run of the show. Now currently he's out trying to break the Guinness record for most ceremonial first pitches in a season. Oh. And he's trying to throw 50 first pitches. And I think he's up to like 7 or 8 now. So he's traveling all over the country throwing out ceremonial first pitches.
So what's he doing? He's calling like minor league teams and they're
minor. No, I think as far as I know, it's mostly minor league teams, but I think he threw one at the Mets game actually. So there's some pro teams too.
So what do you do? Just call him up and say, listen, I'm Eitan, I want to throw out the first pitch.
Yeah, I'm on this thing. I'm a comedian. I blah blah blah. So yeah, so he's doing that. So that he's.
Have you ever been on a Zamboni?
I've never. No, have you?
I know. Played all these years. I've never been on a Zamboni.
Well, they let 8-year-olds ride them, so you could probably go on one. You know, and I do want to say the Rangers, also getting back to what the things they do. What Mr. Dolan does is early in the years, I think we mentioned my son's team, their organization got to play Mites on Ice, but not only that, they did play the 5-minute game in between periods, but they were given a day at the Garden. They played for 2 hours. You've done these things, and they got to play on the ice. They had a 90-minute workout. They played on the Garden ice, the main ice. They were treated like royalty by the staff and by the people there. 2 kids rode the Zamboni that you mentioned. 3 kids, my son and 2 other kids were on the bench with the players in warm-ups. They were just incredible to our kids, and it was free. The Rangers didn't charge them a dime. It was excellent. They gave us 40 tickets for the parents, and that's why that is. And guys come on the show. They say, "I love being on the Rangers because we were treated so well." It just extends past the players. It goes to some of the fans too, and they do this for lots of youth teams in the area. It's like a thing that they do, and it's a thing like these kids won't forget. And no one knows about it. No one knows that it's free. I know the Islanders are very good too, but there's another local organization that we were going to try to get the kids on. And they said, sure, you just have to buy $6,000 worth of tickets and you can play for 5 minutes between periods. I was like, oh, the Rangers, it's free. And they said, well, we can't touch that. So that's how good the Rangers are.
It's so short-sighted, right? Because you think of all like the goodwill that the Rangers build up, like you're talking about right now. And they do that all over the place. These learn to play. Again, I'm in Sportorama tonight. Over in Muncie. It's in Muncie, New York.
Muncie, New York, Rockland County, right at the Jersey border.
What memories we have there, Sportorama.
Here it goes, coming full circle.
Full change.
Full change, full circle. That has not changed. That story will be told. And we're going to have a lot of good guests in the next 100. Thank you all for listening. We're glad that you're part of this ride. I'm very shocked that we're here. I'm not, but I am. It's just crazy how it's turned this way, Tom, and what the incredible roster. We have like 5 all-star teams on our roster of guests. It's pretty amazing who we've had.
Hall of Famers on. Remember Ed Belfour? That's another interesting show that I didn't realize stuff about him, that he went to college, or he had to wait to get to North Dakota. That's where he wanted to play. He had to wait to get there because they had other goaltenders, so he played a couple more years as junior. Then he was a free agent, and he wanted to only play for the Chicago Blackhawks. And he didn't care who was there. Dominic Hasek was there.
And you love that.
Oh, that was what he was telling that story. I was like, wow. Like an undrafted player he didn't care who else was there. I'm going to go to Chicago, and I'm going to be the goaltender.
All right, trivia. Why do you want to go to the Blackhawks?
Was it the same as the North Dakota Jersey?
No, it was somebody's favorite team.
That's right.
I think it was mom's favorite team, maybe, or someone's favorite team. And that's where he wanted to play. You said Hall of Famers, Mark Howe, Bernie Perrant, who was great.
Yeah.
His wife Ginny she was excellent. They were.
Remember she said how handsome I was. She's a smart girl.
His blind wife who was on the show with us. But he was great, and we and Bernie, if you're listening, I'm sorry we didn't take you up on the boating offer. But this summer, we'd love to come on your boat. He invited us right at the end of the show. He's like, "You guys come on my boat." He's like, and then Ginny's like, "Give me your dates." We're like, "Wow!" She's like, "And who are you bringing?" He was like, "That was just so cool to extend that." And then
remember Eddie Hospital was a good show too. Remember because
Hospital was great.
The first time he's told the story about Keenan dressing too many guys for a warm up. That big brawl against Montreal. Yep. That was the first time. He was nervous after. Like, oh, God, should I have said that?
First time we heard your nickname was Ledge growing up, so as a young player. But you said Barry Beck. Barry Beck was a great story. Shared his it was very touching, and he shared his story. I mean, we've had so many great stories, and it's been an honor to do this. And hopefully, people will be along for the next 100 as we keep rolling.
Get the big guys on. Wayne Gretzky will be begging to get on the show now, probably.
I think he is. He's and we're going to do some cool things. Tom's going to do some cool things coming up too. So just stay tuned and if you like what you're hearing, leave us a 5-star review. Tell us about it. Oh, Matt Hankin from Los Angeles. He loves when we get the Kings on. He's like, that's appointment listening when he knows a King episode is coming out. So,
to get us get G. Wells, Larry Playfair, those kind of guys. Yep. Would be good. Yeah.
We'll get some more Kings with Bernie Nichols was one of the first ones we had. Luke Kovacs. Wow, we've got some good players, man. We got some.
Bernie was an interesting show too. Like he wasn't complaining, but you could tell he really believes he should be in the Hall of Fame, and he should. When he started pointing out numbers, it was.
And Bernie should be in the Hall of Fame. So should Brian Propp, who was on this show. So should Rick Middleton, who was also on the show. Like these guys are Hall of Fame players. Like what is the deal? Like let's get them on the show. Tom Laidlaw should be.
2 Hall of Fames already
in Connecticut.
Brampton Sports Hall of Fame, and the Northern Michigan Hall of Fame. Yeah,
I don't know. You're in it.
Actually, my old, it was pretty cool. My old junior coach who played such a big role in my life, Rick Hay, was getting inducted into the Brampton Sports Hall of Fame. So they had me do a video tribute to him. And I just thought they cut it up a little bit. That stuff, didn't he? And so it was pretty cool to do that for him because he played such a big role in my life. It was a great time in my life. So to be able to do that for him was pretty cool. So.
Yes, and it's pretty awesome that you did that, and it's really cool that you're in the Hall of Fame, and you're in the Hall of Fame of Life. You're in the Laidlaw Hall of Fame.
I'm in my whole Hall of Fame. That's right. The Survivor Hall of Fame?
Nope.
No.
No, you're not. You have to win. You actually have to win the show and make it more than 5 episodes.
You know when we go to events now, once people find out that I was on Survivor, they don't want to talk about hockey at all. They want to talk about Survivor.
Well, there's a lot more hockey players than there have been Survivor contestants. So
somebody pointed out to me the other day, and this was, I think he was trying to butter me up a little bit, but he said, you've been in the top 1% in more than one situation. So being a professional athlete, that's the top 1% of people that want to play sports. Then to be on Survivor, a lot of people around the world, that top 1% of that.
Yeah, well, great.
And then when I was an agent, I was worked for IMG, the largest company in the world. So
that and $2 gets you on the subway. Congrats, Tom.
No, because I feels like I've got.
Listen, I'm breaking your balls, but yes, those are pretty incredible accomplishments, and you were one of the best at this particular thing, and that's hockey. You were the best in the world, so that's something to be proud of. You should be.
But yeah, I've told you this before too, and you've realized this, that I just plow through things all the time.
Yep.
When I watch these old videos, I get a kick out of watching, not to watch me play, but it's more like the same mentality on the ice. Like when I make a mistake, it's just plow through it. Just go.
There was one I saw recently, and it's like, I think Espo was like, oh, Laidlaw's got to get the puck out of the zone there. And I was like, oh, they just got scored on. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, when I make a mistake, I'm watching an old game. There's a St. Louis game we play in the playoffs, and I'm coming up out of a zone, and I tried to pass it through the middle of the ice. They picked it off, went and scored. I turned it off right away. I said, that's it.
This stupid highlights. Who wants to watch these anyway?
Oh, but if I make a good play, then we're watching it over and over.
Like when you, again, we've talked about it a lot, especially in the beginning, when you famously sucker punched, Robert Picard. Yeah. And when he came on the show, he was very gracious, and he's like, it's no big deal.
He tried to stir the pot there too, and he wouldn't
bite. Yeah. But again, this is part of the first 100 on this journey, and hopefully people stick around for the next 100, and hopefully we have a deep Ranger run. But it's a series now.
Oh yeah,
they're in it.
Well, listen, they've got to play better. Like I said, their big four up front has played fantastic. The power play has been great. In fact, they were scoring more goals they scored more goals. They just scored more goals on the Carolina power play than Carolina did. Now that's changed. Now they're better than last game. But listen, the Rangers can win it. Shesterkin's got to be Shesterkin.
Best in the world. Best goalie in the world.
Whatever game they play. But everybody has to show up play like they were. And again, Carolina has done some things, and they haven't reviewed the video or anything like that, but there's obviously some things they're doing different. I think a lot more pressure on the power play, because the Rangers power play those first few games was unbelievable.
Yep, now it's changed a little. And last night, Game 5, the Rangers got a goal. Trouba shockingly scored a shorthanded goal, and then the Rangers went to a prevent defense, and you could see it. Carolina had the puck the whole time.
So people have been down on Trouba. Do you think he's playing that bad?
I think he's in the right spot as a third pair defenseman. I think Schneider's eclipsed him, and I think he's right where he should be.
Wow. What's he probably got less, like in the 4 years, probably, of that contract, pretty big contract.
I don't think he sees the end of that contract with the Rangers. It's a very big contract. Yes, he's the captain, but he's in the third pair right now.
But I'm sure he's got a no-move clause. So is he going to want to leave? His wife is a doctor here in New York, I believe.
I don't think so, but what do you do? That's a huge contract. It's funny. I was working on a television project with PK Subban the day we were in Los Angeles the day that Trouba signed, and he said, "That's too big of a contract." He's like, "He's not worth that money." That was then.
Yeah, then but we have to factor into that was a free agent. Like there used to be, it was a signing bonus. That was to lure that was a signing bonus to get that free agent to come here. So sometimes, let's say he was worth $6 million. What's he making? 8, I think it is.
I think it's 8. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say you really thought he was a $6 million a year player, but because he's a free agent, you got to pay more to get him here.
Right? Well, I think he was a sign and trade, wasn't he? Traded for Neil Pionk. I think
that's right. No, I think you're right.
Trade and sign.
Yeah, you're right.
Good point. That and maybe the first round pick in the Kevin Hayes deal. But yeah, so he signed. I don't think you're going to pay a third pair D-man $8 million a year moving forward. I think that's tough.
I guess it depends on what they have coming up too. What other players do they have coming up?
Yeah, and Goodrow, who I think is great, but I don't think you're going to pay a fourth liner. Was he $3.5 million a year? I think that might be a tough contract to keep going as well. One great thing about the playoffs is the emergence of Alexis Lafreniere, who's playing great, and that's what where people want.
What happened with Hedl? So Hedl comes back, plays one game, and he misses 2.
I think there's some kind of chicanery going on because they said he's got an illness.
Yeah.
So that seems a little bit odd.
To me, again, purely speculating. You come back from a concussion, and this is, like, he came back earlier in the year. He was just skating around and
bumped into somebody in a morning skate.
Oh, did he bump into somebody?
Yeah, and went back to Czech
It
Republic.
can't be that. He could have bumped into that hard. Like they have like an initial concussion.
No, it's like an aftershock with an earthquake. It was like the follow.
That's a bad sign. I'm telling you. Like if he should come back and I saw him get interviewed after the game he played in the playoffs here, and he looked like he was great. Laughing and joking around. Yeah.
So the next morning he wake up and he was like, yeah, wow.
That's a scary for his future. That's like not just about his playing career, but his future, like in life. If that's something you got to deal with.
For sure. Yeah, and we've had guys on who went to some pretty dark places with.
Yeah, there's look at Joe Murphy, all the stuff that he's gone through. A lot of people think that's. There's another player, Jeff Friesen. I don't know if you remember him or not. Actually,
I do.
Yeah, and good player, and he suffered from concussion issues as well, and was put on a lot of medication, and it was just messing him up totally. There's a really cool documentary on about him where he talked about how then he got off that and got into the cannabis products and how much it's really.
Jeff Friesen did as well.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, I know that he played. I think he won a cup with the Devils, right?
Yes, I think he did too. It's amazing. Like when we talk about like Riley Cote, I don't think we understand, but people like Riley do. How many people are using psilocybins, for example?
Lots.
Yeah,
lots.
Really
lots
more. He say like 50% of the pro athletes are doing it.
Yeah, he said at least 50% of the league is doing it, and that's people are doing what they need to cope, and it's the stigma's going away.
Yeah,
and that's a good thing because it's plant based, it's natural, it's.
So here's my next question though.
Shoot.
So let's say people they really don't know exactly what doses they should be taking. You see, sometimes players play and they just don't play, and it happens when we play too. So I'm not trying to say this is the answer, but I wonder how much of that is having psilocybins and not having psilocybins. Like if you change because the idea of psilocybins is you're supposed to be able to focus more, right?
Yes, it's like a laser focus.
Right. So somebody's focused totally, and then they don't take the psilocybins in a game. Is that got something to do why they're not focused in the next game? And again, I'm throwing that out there. I don't know the answer to it.
I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, but I'm curious to learn about it. We've had some good teachers on the show telling us these things, and it's been an incredible run, Tom. And I want to thank you for doing it. For being willing and not being pigheaded. A year and a half ago, you're like, you know what? Yeah, let's do this. I like this. I want to tell everyone just before we wrap up, the genesis is I was at Fritz Dietl at an event, a youth hockey event, and Tom introduced himself. Tom Laidlaw, New York Rangers. Tom Smith, Life. And then we talked, and I said, I like what you're doing. I see you doing some stuff online. You had mentioned some of the things you're doing. I said, let me look at it, and I think there's something we can come up with. I think there's something different we can do. And at first, Tom said he was like, fuck this guy telling me I'm doing things wrong here, right?
Silently, I was saying that, like, what are you talking about? I'm perfect, yeah. I'm Tom Laidlaw.
But I was like, I think this works this way. And he was like, I love it. Let's go. And that was great. And then we started. We started taping in, probably back in November, right?
Yeah.
And then we didn't launch. I know when we first launched, we had 40 episodes in the can, which was great. And then, we've been rolling through this. And
the journey's been unbelievable, right? Like really cool. The things we've learned from people, all the stories they had and everything. Remember when Tom used to come here to my studio office, and we record them together. And I got through the summer there where I didn't want to use air conditioning, right? Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
Poor time we had the fan going.
Yeah. Oh, that was so hot. It's so hot in Connecticut. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
But it's been great. It's been a great blast. It's been great to get to know some of these guys and get to hear these stories. And hopefully people will stick around for the next 100, then 100.
I mean, we'll go back to some of the old guys too that we've had on, really interesting guys. I'd love to get Mick Vakota and Rich Belon on together again. They were hysterical.
They were great. Yeah. And it's always fun when there's a few of you guys, and we'll work on doing that. We got some big things planned, and we're working on some good guests. And it's going to be the next century is going to be awesome in these.
It goes fast too, man. That was unbelievable.
Really fast, dude. I remember the first time taping Pierre LaRouche. It was like, here we are now, a year and a half later, and 100 episodes in. So, Tom, congratulations on hosting 100 episodes of this podcast.
Thank you. And you know what? You've been fantastic. You've taught me a lot. You're a good friend now too. You and your family. Your family makes fun of me. They imitate me. Your daughters, son, and everything.
You only imitate people you care about. So So
I love that stuff. They're fantastic at it too. The girls, because they would help you. Didn't they help you edit it first too? So
my oldest Juliana was doing all the editing, and then eventually she's like, "Dad, I got a life here." So now I do all the editing, which is fine. But but it's been a great.
She imitates me. It's hilarious because she's good at it too. Right?
That's Molly. Molly, actress. Yes. Fantastic. Oh, Julie does it too. Actually, Julie does it too. Fantastic. Yeah. At the very end, Tom, there's a canned ending where Tom says, "All right, everyone. Okay, grasshoppers. We hope you enjoyed listening. And we had a fantastic show." And the kids do it all the time. They were saying it around here for a long, long time. Also, I do want to say thanks to Julian Macaluso and his band Dead Eye Doll for the theme song, which is called Oil Lung. And at the end of this episode, I'll play out the whole song so people can hear it because it's a banger. It's like a banger metal song. So we'll play that at the end of this episode.
Great job with another fantastic show. Yeah.
Well, Full Change, 100 in the books.
Yeah,
Next 100 coming up.
Good job. Excellent.
All right, Grasshoppers. Thank you for listening. We had a fantastic show. We'll see you next time.